PreSonus StudioLive 16R. Is it an interface? A stage box? A mixer? Yes. If you haven't watched my first video, I'll link it here so you can catch up on the basic features and controls. That was a few weeks ago when it first arrived, and I've been using it ever since. In this video, I want to talk about what it's been like to actually use the 16R in real life. One thing to point out about this whole series of StudioLive mixers, there is a lot going on in the lineup. I only have the 16R to test and haven't even seen the other consoles in person yet. As a result, I simply can't test and try every configuration or feature. Like any new product from any manufacturer, there's always a potential for issues and bugs. But in this case, from my best judgment, the folks working at PreSonus are genuinely listening to the users and working to resolve issues as they come up, and in some cases they've even added functionality that's been requested. Let's start where we left off in the last video with the built-in SD card recorder. I'm happy to report that the recording of blank files was indeed a bug and was quickly identified by the engineering team. In the middle of dealing with a hectic NAMM show, the folks back at the shop sent over a new beta firmware for me to try out, and the SD card recorder seems to work just fine now. That firmware update should have been released to the public by the time you're seeing this video. I know lots of folks will want to know more about the AVB networked audio functionality. As an interface, it works just as you'd imagine. You plug in a single network cable and it turns the unit from an 18 by 18 USB 2 interface to a 32 by 32 network interface. While this unit is limited to 16 input channels and 10 output or mix buses, that extra flexibility in routing is very powerful when interfacing with other networked audio gear. I honestly can't speak to the reality of using AVB networked audio though. I just haven't come across it in a professional situation yet. I work mostly in live event and broadcast environments, and while we've had a lot of different network protocols over the years, Dante has gained a lot of traction in recent years. If anybody made a box like this with Dante capability at this price, I would love to own one, but that's a topic for a different video. Using the AVB network, the 16R can act as a stage box for the other mixers in the StudioLive lineup. At this price, that's a really impressive feature, but only having the single unit right now, I wasn't able to try it myself. As a mixer, the 16R is really quite impressive. The pros and cons of rack-based mixers controlled exclusively by computer or tablet are for you alone to weigh for your specific situation. For situations where they do meet your needs though, this one is absolutely worth considering. The setup is intuitive, the control application is consistent across devices, the network control is essentially plug and play with a router like the Airport Express, the controls themselves are responsive and laid out for quick operation, and it's a nice sounding unit with very usable EQ, compression, and effects. Tools like the built-in RTA and the simple SD card recorder are really helpful in everyday use, and the addition of RCA inputs on the last two channels makes it really easy to get an iPod or a local computer connected up without needing any additional adapters. The headphone amplifier is plenty loud for anything I would ever do, and used with my Audio-Technica M50X headphones, I'm typically keeping the control about halfway up. The build quality of the 16R honestly exceeds my expectations at this price point these days. It's solid and physically feels more professional than anything I've used from PreSonus in the past. It's interesting what a heavier gauge chassis can do to instill a sense of confidence in a piece of gear. From that solid foundation though, they put together a well-built, well-ventilated, and elegant tool. You can see how things are laid out here on the large PCB, and I've included links to the datasheets below on the main DSP and DAC chips if you really want to take a proper look under the hood. What I'm really looking for here though is the repairability factor. They're using a lot of off-the-shelf parts like this common $15 power supply. It's already been designed and tested, and it's gone through all of the certifications, which saves time and money getting the 16R made. A nice side effect is that we get a power supply that A, isn't an annoying amateur hour wall wart, and B, would be fairly easy to replace down the line in 5 years if it fails when it's out of warranty. Barring some sort of catastrophic failure, the whole unit looks to be fairly serviceable. There are a good amount of surface mount components which do require practice to get confident soldering, but nothing exceptionally difficult looking to access or track down in the event of a failure, so I give it high marks in repairability. As interfaces go, the 16R is pretty much in its own class. This is honestly one of the most impressive interfaces I know of on the market today. Forget the fact that it's a single rack space unit, but just trying to find another interface with 16 mic pre's is pretty difficult, and for under $1,000 it's just not happening. So if you need a lot of inputs in a small space, this is a really nice option. I had the opportunity to use the 16R as an interface on a live event that was being recorded for later broadcast. My primary multi-track rig was a Dante feed from a Yamaha Rio rack for 24 channels of ISOs. My secondary rig was the 16R taking analog inputs from the Rio rack, which were a left-right program feed, a handful of ISOs, and a number of submixes or stems, all being mixed by another engineer on a Yamaha CL5. For software, I used Reaper on both rigs, and for the 16R, I used a single 2016 13-inch MacBook Pro for both recording and controlling with the Universal Control app. The 16R performed flawlessly, recording for over 3 hours continuously without a hitch. On that setup, the MacBook is USB-C only, so I used a USB-C to USB 3 passive hub, connecting the 16R and a LaCie rugged drive to the hub for I/O and recording. I had an Ethernet adapter on hand to use the AVB if the hub wasn't happy with that configuration, but aside from putting out a little bit of heat, the USB hub that is, it all went flawlessly. I've really enjoyed using the 16R, both here to shoot videos and out on actual jobs, and I've been consistently impressed with how flexible and usable the EQ, dynamics, and effects are. If you're in the market for a 16-channel mixer or interface that's computer or tablet controlled, this might be the unit for you. It's been really impressive to see how PreSonus has been able to bring the StudioLive series, the mixers, the rack units, and the stage boxes that have just come out, this whole ecosystem together for such an incredible price, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do next. That's it for this time. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions or experience with the StudioLive series or the 16R, let us know in the comments below. It'd be interesting to hear from other folks who have actually used these mixers. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.